Let's hit the high road. Let's hit the high road.
Hi, it's Nancy Earl, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And today we're going to talk about a really interesting subject, something I've never talked about before, and it's psychedelics. And we have Natalie Dyer here today. She's a PhD, and welcome to the High Road, Natalie.
Oh, thanks, Nancy. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm excited you're here. You guys put together this book. It's called Infinite Perceptions, The Role of Psychedelics in Global Transformation. Now, just so the audience has a feel of what we're going to be talking about today, I'm going to read just a little bit out of your book very quickly here.
Yeah.
But I was really, taken back by this. So I can't wait to have a conversation with you. So Natalie says psychedelics have a remarkable ability to alter consciousness, which often leads to positive transformation mediated by ego dissolution, mystical experiences, and shifting the narratives we have about our life. So the transformation is manifested as improved psychological health, greater empathy, life meaning, and positive changes in the world view. And you say psychedelics can change perception. So that's what we're going to talk about today, you guys. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Natalie. You guys put, and I guess I need to preface this by saying you and Ocean Malandra were the editors of this book. So let me just ask you this before I even read your bio. How did this come together? Like he did some of the interviews, it looks like to me. I mean, tell the audience how this all came about, I guess, first of all.
Yeah, so we all brought in our, certain people that had different viewpoints and perspectives. We're in very different worlds. So Ocean is a journalist who has spent a lot of time deep in the Amazon with a lot of indigenous shamanic practitioners. He's very connected with the psychedelic grassroots scene. And I'm more of I'm a researcher. I'm a scientist, also a Reiki master as well. But
I
so
know.
I brought in, people like Rick Strassman, who wrote DMT, the spirit molecule, and more of the psychology side of things, and more of the medicine. So together we think we have all our bases covered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if you're watching this on YouTube, this is what the book looks like. It's got a beautiful cover. It has a white owl. I love this. And purple. It's
Mm.
gorgeous. Infinite perception. Okay, so Natalie is a PhD. Her last name is Dyer. She is a research scientist with Connor Whole Health at University Hospitals. She is the president of the Center for Reiki Research. This is really cool. And she serves on the Scientific and Medical Network Board. You've got such a wonderful background. You've been University of Harvard Medical School. You published many scientific papers. I guess my big question for you is what brought this even about? Like, why did you decide, okay, I'm going to check out psychedelics? I mean, where did this even stem from?
Yeah, really good question because the book has been a long time coming. I was working with some other publishers. I wrote a chapter in a book called Beacon of Mind, and it was all about the connection between or the bridge between intuition and logic or reason. So that book was, that's how I got introduced to this publisher. And as we had a lot of, well, at the time, Skype calls. Let's take us back to like 2014, 2015, as I'm Skyping with these publishers. We're just talking about, shifts that are going on the planet. If you want to call it the awakening or like this increase in awareness of our true selves, or, maybe that our consciousness might be fundamental and interconnected, all these sort of fun things I love to talk
Sure, that we
about.
all have been talking about. Yeah, the connection and yes.
And somehow psychedelics came into the conversation. We might have talked about respective experiences. We were just, chatting for hours. We'd have these like 5 hour long Skype calls. And at some point we just thought, oh, we should put together a book about this because it is very timely. And the publishers also connected with Ocean. So that's how I met Ocean, was through this publishing company. They were called Parent Media. They no longer exist, but we were
Okay.
developing the idea for this book through them. Ocean and I continued to discuss it, like, we should keep this going. Let's bring in some more contributors. And so over like nearly a decade, this book grew. And we think maybe now was the right time
That's
because
the right
back
time.
then,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And I will say this is Collective Ink. That's who also published my book that just came out,
nice.
Guide to
Yeah,
Angel Communication and Spiritual Life.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they do
love
beautiful
that.
covers. Look at, I mean, I just have to say they do such a good job. And
And the cover is Simon Hayek. He actually wrote a chapter as well, and that's his artwork on the cover
that's his
there.
artwork on the cover.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
let's get into this because I mean, when I was in high school, we all did, oh, let's do acid and let's do all these different, and those are psychedelic drugs, right? These
Yeah,
are
yeah.
back, and I'm aging myself, but these are back in the 80s, people were doing this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But what you're talking about, and let me just make sure that we're on the same page, you're talking about stuff that, Ocean interviewed people out of the Amazon who were
Hmm.
using, different psychedelic drugs. I mean, talk about this. Why do you feel, I guess this really kind of blows my mind a little bit because I'm like, well, why do you feel like this is really going to help people? You know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, so right away, I'm a researcher, so I look to the research. Why is this going to help people?
Yeah.
Not to mention we have thousands of years history with this.
Yeah.
But in terms of, yeah, how's this going to help people? So research has shown if under the right setting, so I'm not talking going to a party and doing
Well, yeah,
acid
because I
with.
can remember those days, right?
No,
So,
I'm not saying that can't happen either. I'm just saying what I'm talking about is in like a psychotherapeutic setting. So
okay.
yeah. So psychedelic assisted psychotherapy. Specifically, I wrote a paper on that, did a analysis of recent studies. And when people have these experiences, psilocybin, for example, which is the active ingredient of magic mushrooms, they rank it as one of the top experiences of their life in terms of shifting their reality in a positive way. So they rank it up there with having a child and getting married and graduating, like big moments in life that were turning points.
Really?
And that same group of researchers found that psilocybin is very effective for treatment-resistant depression. So people that have tried everything. They've done the psychotherapy, they've done the SSRIs or whatever, the pharmacotherapy,
Mhm.
um, and now they're trying this, which is of course also pharmacotherapy. This is a drug. Let's not say it's not pharmacotherapy. It is, but it's different.
But is it natural? Okay, so I'm going to back up a little bit.
Yep.
'Cause, we're talking about different things like peyote, a lot of natural things.
It's a big category. Yeah,
Yeah,
lots of
I mean,
different.
there's a
Yeah.
lot of natural stuff. So are you talking about natural or are you talking about synthetic, I guess?
Well, it gets all mixed up in the literature. So, for example, with psilocybin, it's magic mushrooms, but they're not giving the full mushroom; they're giving an extract of it, right? So that's kind of somewhere in between. Then
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, and everything that's synthesized is synthesized from something. So when you talk about LSD, that's synthesized from the ergot um, species. I'm definitely in favor of it being as natural as possible. I think that to not go too far off topic, but I think having the whole fungi or plant, there's a spirit attached
Mm-hmm.
with it,
Mm-hmm.
and that spirit helps guide your experience toward healing.
Yeah.
When you take that out, well, maybe you do need a therapist in there, and maybe because
Yeah, Kins
it's,
becomes convoluted. You got to go
yeah.
back to like the Native Americans and how they did it. You know what I mean?
So yeah, we really wanted this like comprehensive view of this subject
Right.
from yeah, deep in the Amazon to the lab and that whole range of what is it doing in all these different levels to our culture, our psychology, our social relationships. So that's why we're talking global transformation. We're looking at different levels of how these substances change society,
Right.
change psychology. I tend to focus on the psychology aspect.
Well, let
So,
me let me interject here a minute because I wrote something down and I kind of think this is like the key. So, you wrote in the book, psychedelics have a remarkable ability to alter consciousness, which often leads to positive transformation. So, it's medicated by ego dissolution. That's what really stuck out for me because I think, and this is just me talking, I've interviewed a lot of people, it's always the ego that gets in the way. So what I
mhm.
picked up from this, not to just be kind of a black and white kind of thing, but I really picked up that it gets rid of the ego.
Yes.
a lot of people and brings more compassion, which is what raising our vibration here on the planet is all about. So is
Mhm.
that what this is doing?
Yes, and that's the thing that they seem to all have in common is that
So
what we
weird.
call, I like the term ego death. It's a little more harsh, but
Ego death.
ego dissolution, ego death, ego softening, there are all these terms. And it can be a spectrum, where we're kind of losing it a little bit, or it can be like, whoa, we are just one with
It's a
everything.
realization. It's a
Yes.
realization, isn't it? I'm sorry, I don't
Mhm.
mean to interrupt you, but I'm just
No.
like, I'm realizing that's what this is. It's like a wake-up call,
Hmm.
right?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Now,
And
have you given this to your patients? Have you worked with people?
no, no, I haven't given it. Well, I've had it with friends, but no, not clients or anything like that.
How has that been
I've
with friends? How has that been?
Interesting. I mean, everyone's different, right? And the setting really matters. So, um, I like to have a nice, calm setting, but some you can't control sometimes if someone drops in and shows up. So there's
Yeah.
been really good settings, and then sometimes where it's like, who is this person? Why they, so but in general, it's been very good. No one's had a bad, quote, bad experience. But
Right?
yeah, that's just friends. No, I haven't given it to anyone like as a client or a patient.
Okay.
I've only done research. I've done survey studies and I've done um, a systematic review on the therapeutic effects. So I went through everyone else's research and
Gotcha.
summarized it. Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha. Well, what
yeah,
do the shamans say about this? Because I'm real big on that kind of thing. And,
yeah. I mean, it is medicine, right? Yeah, carry on. Were you gonna?
no, go ahead. I said, what do the shamans say? Because I'm into the more natural,
Hmm,
I, that's what I believe in. I really do. I love doctors. I have the best doctor ever. But I still believe, and I'll give you a quick example. Oh, gosh, I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to. I went to the doctor. I had a little bit of cough last week, and he's like, "Oh, well, you need an inhaler." I've never had an inhaler in my life. So he gave me one. I was like, "Oh, this is interesting." Okay. And I'm thinking, I really need some Manuka honey. Think that would knock it out. And so I ordered Manuka honey. Why am I telling you this? Because it's knocking out my cough.
hmm
And it's a natural thing. And
hmm
so it's like, I love my doctor and he wanted to help. But on the flip side, I really just needed the Manuka honey to knock.
Right.
And
Yeah.
intuitively, and that's part of what I want to ask you, intuitively, we know what's good for us and what's
Hmm.
not. So out of your research, I mean, did you find that people's intuition came into play here, like their body was craving some kind of change? Anything in that respect, I guess?
Well, that's a very interesting question. No, no, I haven't considered that as,
Okay.
yeah, like the body
Well,
craving
because
something.
your body doesn't lie. I've done some.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Your body doesn't lie. And you knows, and the reason I bring this up is because I was like, oh, I know what I need, and you kind of intuitively, know these things. So have you
Hmm.
had a lot of people say, I've been thinking about this kind of thing and then do it? I guess that's what I'm going after.
Yeah, yeah, like being called. I've heard this before with ayahuasca that ayahuasca, calls you to it,
Yeah.
to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and yeah, is it the mind? Is it the body? Both, yeah, definitely. And people feel like they need this wake-up call. They need to be shaken awake. They need something that's
Mhm.
going to shift the trajectory that their life has been. Very often it's depression or anxiety or lack of meaning or all of these things. And with that ego death, I mean, that's the therapeutic component, which we found in the research, which the Amazonian shamans can tell you that anyway, but in our terminology and with our brain scans, we found that
Okay.
this dissolution of that ego is the therapeutic component of the psychedelic experience. So the leading to the improvements in depression and anxiety, the reduction in fear of death, the changes in life meaning and increased compassion, all of these things that we do see seem to require maybe seem to require this ego death. So we
Yeah.
need to get out of our own way. We need to
Right.
disengage from the programming that we have, the mental programming that we've had our whole life.
Mhm.
Um, we're so ingrained in it and in different ways of thinking about ourselves and the world and beliefs about why we're the way we are and why other people interact with, all of these things just get deconstructed.
Right.
And you're left with an objective view of your personality and your mind and all of its,
Hmm.
intricacies and
Yeah,
quirks and all of that. And there's some compassion to it too. It's not like, so for some of people with depression, there are qualitative reports like this is getting at the root of why I'm depressed rather than just making me feel,
exactly. Oh my gosh. Thank you.
yeah.
Because we all need to go within. It's know thyself. You even talk in the book. There's a little bit
Mhm,
in the book about know thyself. It goes back
mhm.
to, ancient times where they said, in Delphi, it was up there, know
Right.
thyself. And that's what it's really about is know the treasure lies within. It's knowing who
Exactly.
you are. It's knowing who you are. And okay, so I don't mean to do this, but I'm gonna throw this at you. So I'll just be honest. So I think when people go through a tragedy, it could be PTSD, they have, or a lot of different things. For me, it was divorce, and just change in life could be a loss of job, could be a death of a person, but
Mhm,
it like catapults you. And for
mhm.
me personally, I learned to connect with God, the spirit, the divine,
Yes.
that higher, source, and I bring that light in every day. And that's what changed me
Mhm.
and grounding down to Mother Earth, putting my feet
Mhm.
on the ground and being aware and bringing in her energy. And of course, my
Mhm.
angels too. But it was really God, spirit, whatever you want to say, that got rid of my ego and
Mhm.
gave
Mhm.
me the compassion and the joy and the awareness. Because then you become aware. Then you're up, then you become aware of everything and you're not in it all.
Yeah.
So for me, it was connecting to God. So I guess my big question to you is when people do this, like if they do ayahuasca, does it bring them closer to God? Does it take them into like a different state to where do you know what I mean? Is that what's happening?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
whatever term you want to use, right?
Sure.
Spirit,
Yeah.
spirit, God, the one
Source.
mind, the one consciousness,
Yeah.
the absolute. Yeah. Yes. That I think that connection
Because we've
necessitates
lost
this
it.
ego death. It's very similar to a near-death experience or and it's replaced with compassion and this unconditional universal love and the truth that comes with that. Um, yeah, and then having to integrate that. And there's life changes that come with that, obviously. And there's many paths. It doesn't have to be psychedelics, of course, of course. Prayer, even some people it's fasting or ecstatic dance or, yoga, meditation, energy medicine, all these things all lead to that. Psychedelics are just, I think, a very potent way for someone to access that who can't in other ways and maybe like there's so many people I've met that are like, I can't meditate. Nope, not doing it.
I
Can't,
know, right? That's
nope.
true. That's
I
true.
think I can't do it. I'm like, the point is it's a practice and
Yeah, you got to start
you
somewhere.
probably should, yeah. But for those people and the people that are very close-minded, like I don't know, there's nothing but what I can see, touch, taste, nothing else. You die, that's the end. People like that. If they have an ayahuasca or an LSD or a potent peak experience, that ego death is going to fundamentally transform the way that they view the world and themselves and each other. So I think it's a very useful tool for tough cases where people
They're stuck.
really,
If they're stuck.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. So I want to know if you don't mind, and you don't have to tell us, but you've done this then. I want to know your own experiences. Like
Sure, yeah.
you're a Reiki master and all of this, but I mean, that
Hmm.
all came before, right? Your connection
Um,
stuff, or did this change you? I'm just curious now.
It is a good question. Like, when did one? So from a very young age, I had intuitive dreams a lot. So it was mostly in my dreams where things, would come true. Very simple things, sometimes illness, sometimes things like that.
Mhm.
So, and out of body experiences, and I had a lot of experiences like that from a very young age.
Okay.
And that connection that you mentioned, hard times connect to God
Oh
because
yeah.
so my family, I was going through divorce. My mom was, not me. I was like 3.5, I felt the pain and the sadness of that. And I looked to God at a young age. I
At
wasn't,
3.
yeah, like
Wow.
I was very contemplative from a very young age. and did a lot of prayer. And I very much felt from a young age older. I felt like, and maybe because there was so much serious things going on in my home, I don't know what caused it. Old soul, old, just experience, whatever. But
I think you're an old soul. I'm going to say that.
thanks. No.
I think
So just, being very aware of suffering and then wanting to fix
changing.
suffering and wanting truth, like just this deep just feeling this connection, this innate connection. And then being put into Catholic school and feeling like, okay, Jesus is wonderful. Some of this, take it with a grain of salt, feel that true connection. And I feel like I kind of did a good job of keeping that true connection alive most of the time. But then I got really into science. I got really into truth. I really wanted to know. And so I kind of split myself into
Hmm.
like the science me and the spiritual me, and um, was pretty disenchanted by science because everything that I experienced was nonsense to the current paradigm, right? So,
Hmm.
um, and then where did psychedelics come in? That's a good question. So I was very much interested in near-death experiences, all this stuff. So I did a lot of learning of people's transcendent experiences. The first time I did psychedelics wouldn't be till much later, maybe in my mid-20s. Um, Early mid 20s. And
Hmm.
it was a recreational thing at first, um, which was mushrooms, I believe. But that was, yeah, the first couple times. And then I did mushrooms in the woods. And that was a totally different experience than
I
being
bet. Yeah.
in a bar. You know,
Yeah,
who does
right.
mushrooms that are like set and setting, very important. So in the forest, and I talked with this with Ocean in another event we did, but and I wish Ocean was here, could be here too. But in the woods, then it was all of a sudden connecting with the nature spirits. All of a
I
sudden,
love it.
it was elves. The tree was breathing and everything was alive, and it was just such a better experience than a bunch of drunk people in a bar. Like you don't want to do it like that. That's silly. But I didn't know any better, and
But
that's a
your
game
perception
changer.
changes. I'm sorry. I see I can see you sitting there and your perception of everything changes
Yes,
once you realize that there are nature spirits and the trees
yes,
are alive. A lot of people
yes,
don't believe that. So maybe this is, I don't
yeah.
know, but it has to be in a controlled way, like you say, because a lot of people do it at the bar. Oh, I've got some mushrooms. Do you want some kind of thing? But yeah, I mean, the true essence of
Yeah.
it goes back to the people of the Amazon.
Yeah, it needs to be respected. And
Yeah.
I don't think I even ever mentioned anywhere before that I did it in a bar, but
Well,
totally not
but I
recommended.
can
This
but
is,
I can relate to that because I grew up in an era where, that was the thing to
I
do.
don't know how you do psychedelics in a scene like that. I mean, I have, but it's just, I remember
Well,
just everything being just, yeah, it was just not right. It
well,
wasn't.
and I want to go back. I keep going back to the people of the Amazon because I think that
Mhm.
they had stopped it for a while. And I want to bring this up, and I'm not the expert you are, but I want to understand it. They had stopped doing this for a while, and then they had so much unrest, is what I felt from the book, that the elders got together and they brought it back. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
Mhm. I think so, and at least in one group.
Incident, yeah.
And it's medicine. It's exactly it. It's
Right.
medicine that is used to heal something. And whether that's a community rift, whether it's a psychological thing, whether it's a trauma, or whether it's even to learn how to heal the environment better or to be better stewards of the earth. Because like I mentioned with the earth spirits, and we mentioned ego death. So we're talking up here and we're talking down here.
Hmm.
It bridges the earth and the spirit, and because it is all one, right? It's all one connection, this inhale, exhale, creator, creation. And you really get in tune with the pervasiveness of that spirit, of the fundamental nature of that consciousness, and
Hmm.
that God consciousness that is in everything,
Yeah,
experiencing itself through different forms.
I'm going to share something with you. I shared it on my last show, but I'm going to share it again. They found this amulet around this guy's neck, and this was in Germany, in Frankfurt, and it's in silver.
Hmm.
And it took them a while. This has just happened. It's been on all the news stations if you want to see it. It was found in 2017, 2018 excavation of Roman cemetery.
Hmm.
Okay. So it was a silver amulet. Now, here, the reason I'm bringing this up, I want to read this, what it said on the amulet, because it really hit home with me, and I think it will with you. So the text of the Frankfurt silvered inscription translated into English, and it was in Latin, by the way. So
Hmm.
that's another really
Okay.
interesting thing. And they
Hmm.
said it was 500 years before they thought the first Christians. And it says, Holy, 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 in the name of Jesus Christ, Son of God, the Lord of the world, resist to the best of his ability. It has a question mark. All seizures, setbacks. The God grants well-being admission. The rescue device protects the person who surrenders to the will of the Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of God. Since before Jesus Christ, bend on all knees the heavenly ones, the earthly and the subterranean, and every tongue confess to Jesus Christ.
Wow.
So it talks about the subterranean, the people who live under the earth, and that's something, and it goes along with the nature spirits.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
wow.
just, I thought this is fascinating that, wait a minute, anyway, you guys can read the article. It's a silver
Yeah, I have to look at that.
amulet
That's
unearthed in Frankfurt, graven, the oldest evidence of Christianity north of the Alps.
wow.
But it says, but as above, so below. And we
Exactly.
keep forgetting, I just want to say that. And they're talking about, now we get into the ETs, they're coming out of the oceans,
Right.
a lot below that I think we don't really think about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's true. Yeah. And just connection with nature in general and Christianity sort of got it just isn't really there so much as I think. Are you familiar with Hildegard of Bingen? She's a German. She's a saint now, but she was a very revolutionary. We're off topic, but she was very
No, it's
revolutionary.
okay. Well, it's kind
Um,
of a topic, but go ahead.
very revolutionary woman. Gosh, look into her. She was incredible. Did lots of artwork, writings, plays, music, amazing. But she really spoke, and this was 1100s, really spoke about needing the nature to be infused and to re-greenify ourselves as well. So she was very much about nature medicines as well. And if she wasn't such a smart cunning woman, which she was, the way that she explained everything, she would have been called a witch because she has
Mm.
books on all kinds of medicines that include, things like frog legs and like everything, every little berry, every little, she's got a use for it. And it's just really incredible that she was able to
Yeah,
practice that stuff and teach that stuff at a time where people were being killed for it
I
because she
know.
was so smart about it. And she was really adamant about the nature component that creation is not just us, it's all the animals, it's all the trees, and we're all a part of it. Rather
Yeah.
than like we're up here and everything else is just
Well,
um
yeah. And let me just say this because I saw this somewhere yesterday and it really hit home with me. I don't even know if it was on somewhere on social media. And it's like, there's a lot of star seeds down here. There's a lot of angelic beings down here, people trying to raise the vibration, but they're also in the animal kingdom. There are star seeds that are like in the animal
that's interesting.
kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we are so obnoxious to think we're the only ones here. I mean, how arrogant of us as humans to think that the animals don't have special animals that are helping to raise the vibration, just like
Yeah.
we do. And it really hit me, and I was like, wow, that is arrogant of us to
Right.
realize
Right.
that because they're part of the earth too. They're part of
Hmm.
this whole thing.
Hmm.
Well, we could talk forever about this stuff. I have a question though about, there's a lot of information in this book. What really surprised you? Is there one story or one interview that really, hit home with you that you want to share that really surprised you or really enlightened you, I guess?
That's a really good question. I haven't thought of before. Um, I don't know. I like everyone's chapter and for different reasons. I really enjoyed the chapters where they did go into their personal experience because I think that matters a lot. Simon Hayek's chapter, The Artist on the Cover, I found really interesting just because it was so personal on his journey and very raw and open to how he became the artist that he is today. But of course, I love, the interview, Dennis McKenna's interview. That was really interesting. Um, One thing he mentioned about how the rise of ayahuasca is in response to the destruction of the Amazon. It was just very interesting how he made that connection that I never heard of before, that, the Amazon's being destroyed. We know all the issues there, environmental issues. And then simultaneously, this ayahuasca medicine starts to become super, super popular, and it's actually now contributing to the reduction of the destruction of the Amazon, because we want to preserve this plant and all this. Um,
That's
and bringing, tourism, good or bad, I don't know, into the Amazon, but also bringing just awareness into the space and that environment and the importance of it. So that was really interesting anecdote that just popped up. Yeah, the psychedelic feminism chapter, that was really interesting too, because I never thought about psychedelic feminism, and I had another colleague talk about that a little bit too, in relation to cannabis, which was interesting, and how cannabis was being, prostituted, and just making this connection to, like,
What do you think about that? Let's talk about it because I can remember the days where, everybody was, meeting behind the building to do the pot deal. And now there's a pot store on every corner in most states that you live in.
mhm.
Now, one thing I have heard, I just want to get your take on this from my own doctor, because we talked about it. He said, and it's true, but I want to know what you think. The THC levels are so much higher now than they used to be. They used to be, I don't know what the percentage is. I don't want to quote,
I
but
don't know
it's
what
like,
they used to be. Yeah,
but it's like
they're
double
around 30
now.
now. Yeah,
Yeah. So what do you feel? And I asked him, and he says, we don't know how that's going to affect people. He said, we didn't even think people could tolerate that high dosage of THC. So this kind of goes along with what do you think about?
tolerate. We
Well,
can tolerate.
yeah,
Yeah, I
what
mean,
do you feel?
the toxicology is so enormously high. I don't think we can even reach it, really. Like, cannabis is very,
Okay.
very safe in terms of,
Okay.
in terms of toxicology. We have our endocannabinoid system that's very distributed everywhere, lots of different receptors and subtypes. It's very helpful for a lot of things, but it can certainly, I mean, it's a catalyst for, it is like a psychedelic, although it's, you need it a high dose for it to be a psychedelic unless you're very inexperienced, but it acts like a psychedelic, meaning it shifts perception, it shifts your consciousness in a very profound way, and it can. Um, and that can be troubling for some people. I mean, that's true for any psychedelic. If you have already a very, like, very dissociative, you have derealization, depersonalization, these kinds of psychological issues where you don't have, a stable sense of reality to begin with, for example, um, you might want to avoid having these substances because they can enhance that. So there's, of course, the caution with that. But my uncle has schizophrenia, and he has cannabis all the time, and it
And it helps them. Yeah.
seems to help him, like, what he would say would chill out, like, just relax. And
Mhm.
but yeah, I have to make that caution, because it can happen. It can exacerbate certain issues like anxiety. I've had friends that can't have cannabis because it makes them have panic attacks. So
Oh, wow.
your brain does change, when you have certain substances, it adapts. It's, what we call plastic. So if you start to have cannabis and you haven't had it before, it's going to be, this is where tolerance comes in. Your brain's going to then start making more receptors for it. Oh, this is something we're taking. Okay, I'm going to receive this more, basically, like, I'm taking this. And when you do that, then it's not as potent to have the effect. So there's changes that happen, obviously, in the brain and in the body. Cannabis is, the receptors are in the gut. That's why it can help people with IBS and things like that. They're all over the body. So it has wide-ranging
Yeah.
benefits.
It really does, doesn't it? I see a lot of people, I'll just be honest, I feel like it's calmed a lot of people down. And people who have arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis,
Mhm.
all different things. It's a plant. It's a natural. I've always been really a big advocate because I think it's natural. The only thing I don't like is when it does get into some of these stores, and I don't know, I think they add things and to it.
Right, right. You
That's
don't
when
know
I get a
what's in
little,
there.
yeah, that's when I get a
Pesticides.
little nervous
Yeah,
about all
exactly.
that.
Yeah, it's two things. Like, you can get it on the native reservations, right? Or you can get it at the government shop, basically. That's how it is
Mhm.
here.
Mhm.
One has pesticides, maybe more, one has maybe some mold. Like it's like
Which do you choose? Oh my
yeah.
God.
So yeah,
That's cute.
growing your own is always an option.
Now tell everybody where you're at. You're in Canada.
Yeah, I'm in New Brunswick, Canada, so I'm
Okay.
just east of Maine.
So how do they feel about this? So is it over there? Because I don't know this
Yeah,
as
it's
much as it
federally
is.
across Canada, it's legal. So
Okay.
yeah, federal legalization. And then here in my province, New Brunswick, it's sold. Well, primarily they just started allowing small businesses to sell it too, but pretty much the government is controlling it.
Controlling
And
it.
it's the same here as alcohol. It's government controlled. So
Gotcha. What about
um,
psychedelics? How is that controlled? If
it's
any, if,
not,
if
yeah,
at
it's not
all.
legal. It's not legal. You can have ketamine therapy, I believe. There's some clinics for ketamine. But psiloc like mushrooms and all that, no, that's all still illegal. It's not something that's taken very seriously as something like, like opioids or fentanyl or something that's actually killing people. The cops aren't going after mushrooms very hard. But yeah, the drugs that actually do serious harm are
You
the
have the same
focus.
kind of thing, the fentanyl and everything on
Yeah, yep,
like
same
we do
issue. I don't know how much of an issue it is in New Brunswick, but in Canada, it's definitely an issue. Yeah, for sure.
here too. What's
Yeah.
been the response from the book so
Oh,
far?
great. Yeah, very positive.
Interesting.
I think because it's very diverse perspectives. There's things like from I learned things that I wouldn't learn in my bubble of psychology and medicine and all of that, right? So having chapters on psychedelic feminism and things I learned. So I think everybody can learn something from the book, no matter how much of an expert you are in this topic. There's always something kind of interesting in there. Um,
Well, I think you guys did
yeah.
a good job putting it together. You
Oh,
guys,
thanks.
yes, you're welcome. It's Infinite Perception, the role of psychedelics in global transformation. And I like the feel that, it can make a difference in the world. It's edited by Ocean Malandra and Natalie Dyer. She's a PhD. What do you want to leave us with today?
Yeah,
Anything you want to leave us with?
I just want to, yeah, I think I said it already though that psychedelics, it can be controversial. Some people, think it's not, maybe it's not safe or it's scary and it's not for everybody. So I just want to say, I'm not saying that everybody go out and
Do
do psychedelics.
psychedelics, right? You're just
No,
kind of giving
I'm
some
thinking
information.
it's a powerful tool that if you feel like you're stuck and you feel like you need a big shift in perception, if you've never had an ego death experience and you're wondering what that's like, then I would highly recommend it, but would also highly recommend that you have a guide, someone who's an expert in this that can guide you through it. Certainly don't go to a bar and do
Well,
that's
if
not going to be your
I
spiritual
got it.
experience.
Yeah. Do you have a website? Can people contact you?
Yep, it's drnataliedyer.com.
Okay.
And I'm also on Instagram at Dr. Natalie Dyer and Facebook.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm also a Reiki master. So I do Reiki sessions. I teach Reiki and
I love it.
research Reiki and all this fun stuff. So yeah, come on over to the website. I have a few blogs there. And,
Awesome.
oh,
Natalie, thank you. You're just
thanks,
a
Nancy.
delight. Yeah, you're
Oh,
just
you
bright.
too.
You're just a bright light. Hey, you guys, we're going to get out of here for today. I want to wish everybody a happy holiday, a Merry Christmas. Remember to pick up my book, A Guide to Angel Communication and Spiritual Law. It did come out December 1st. It's a perfect gift for Christmas. All right, you
Oh,
guys, we
nice.
get out of here for today. I hope everybody has a fabulous holiday and God bless.